Welcome to Impactful. Today we are talking about social media, a place where AI already influences what we see, post and think about. We'll talk about how media teams can use these platforms better, create content and keep their connection with the audience strong. Our guest today is Erika Marzano, an expert in audience development and social media strategy. Her work is all about making journalism more engaging, accessible, and creative in the digital age. With years of experience in audience growth, innovation, and digital storytelling, Erika brings valuable insights into how media can stay relevant and build strong communities online. Welcome, Erika. It's a real pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
We'll be sharing lots of tips about social media today, but let's start with the basics. Everyone talks about the importance of being authentic online, but what's one simple rule anyone can follow to see better results?
The secret to record a short form journalistic or content video is to follow a strict structure, because there isn't much to think about when scripting and then recording a short form video. You just need to follow a little structure that each short form video has, whether the platform is TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, Reels, Shorts, or whatever. They always follow this structure rule. And the structure of a TikTok video is that you start with an immediate promise of what to expect that doesn't give away too much, so you leave a bit of mystery behind. And the journey leading up to that, so giving information to solve that question, to solve that doubt, to solve that issue that you launched at the beginning, is interesting, surprising, satisfying. You just need to follow the structure of the three: immediate promise, journey leading up to what you're going to show, ending that could be surprising, interesting, special.
Many media outlets are on social media, but what should a newsroom focus on when they want to be more strategic about it? And if they're not getting the results they hoped for, what general advice would you give them?
So first of all, before even landing on social media, any type of social media, each newsroom or even just single journalists should do a little market research and see what is popular in their country or regions, or even local target region, etc. Because sometimes one of the reasons why newsrooms are not reaching their target audience in whatever social media is because their audience is not there. Not only demographically, as in location, but also age. If you say my main target is 14 to 24-year-olds and you decide to open a Facebook page, no wonder why you won't be reaching your audience. Or you want to reach an Indian audience and you open a TikTok account, and TikTok is banned in India. Yeah, of course, you won't be reaching it. So that is really important.
What's a good place to start? Any tools, platforms, or resources you think they should look into first?
There are some key sources available to everyone. One, or the main one, the Bible of journalists, is the Digital News Report by the Reuters Institute for the Study of Journalism, that is based in Oxford. Every year, they publish the Digital News Report, and they conduct a thorough study of countries from all over the world and where people get their news online, so digitally, and you get answers for your countries or regions, whether they are on social, which social, or if not, podcast, newsletter, website, paying, not paying, things like that. So that is a valuable source for newsrooms. Otherwise, also insights from marketing resources are helpful, because they just tell you whether each platform has an audience in each country. There are insights from a website called called Data Reportal, Global Digital Insights, and also they are split into countries, and they analyze each platform per country, whether they have more Facebook, more Instagram, they are more this gender, or this age is more on Reels, is watching more TikToks and things like that. And finally, there's also another marketing agency worldwide called We Are Social, and they have the exact same type of report. So by examining patterns in specific markets before starting social, you can then decide where you want to land on social.
Once the initial analysis is done, what should be the next steps? Any other tips that could help?
Once you have the strategic decision of one platform, two platforms, depending on your capacities, of course, depending on your demographics. If they are like very old and very young, maybe you would do at least two. Then you check what the competitors are doing there. So where to start is by checking who else like me is already there and what are they successful in. So you just check pages and scroll through videos, articles, posts, and check what is successful, what is not. Note it down so that you can take inspiration, what to do, what not to do. And if you don't have any competitor because you are pioneer in that market or in that field, definitely there will be creators. Right now, media's competitors are no longer just other media, but also the creators, the influencers, how we want to call them. And that's where you start. After these three steps, you can start opening really your account and start creating content. But there is no way of opening an account and creating content before going through these two to three steps.
We often hear people say we are doing everything right, but the algorithm just doesn't like us.
Yes. So in some cases, rest assured, the algorithm doesn't like us as news. Meta released reports that they were phasing out news on their feed. And others where they don't have any specific policy towards media or towards journalism, still don't particularly like media. And one of the reasons is just simple and not so much about censorship or political reasons, but media usually don't bring money like businesses, like influencers to the platform. So if they don't dislike us, they don't encourage us, okay? Or they just let us be. They don't help us. So this is something that you need to take into consideration. And if you decide, like some media, I think like in Australia or in Canada or in northern countries of Europe have decided that this does not align with your vision at all, then you take the decision not to be there at all. But if you need or if you want to be there, then you need to play with the rules of the algorithm. There is no way that you publish your own content the way you want and think, oh, I don't care about the algorithm because people, if they're interested, they will find. No, they won't find that content because the algorithm prevents them from seeing content that is not compliant.
So, what would you suggest? What can newsrooms actually do?
If you have in your newsroom someone that is an expert for each platform, they should learn how each algorithm works and then explain it to the newsrooms in general. And then you abide with some tricks. For instance, Facebook doesn't really appreciate particularly links, okay? So what do? You post more videos, picture galleries, and maybe you post the link of the article you want people to read in your story, like swipe up and go to this article, or in the comment section. Or Instagram, they would rather have reels or carousel, so multiple pictures rather than one still picture. You post more of them instead of one still. TikTok, people, the more they watch, the more they will be seeing your content. then you need to have very short videos, because it's highly likely that people will watch 30 seconds, 1 minute, rather than 10-minute videos, although you can post them, but they won't be watching until the end. So you study the algorithm and you comply, knowing that on your own platform, so if you have a website, if you have a podcast, if you have a newsletter, you are free. So if you know that certain apps don't like certain topics, anything sexual, anything drugs related, anything crime beat, you can either decide not to post those stories on those platforms, knowing that the audience can find them on your website, or you use the so-called algo speak, a language that masks certain words, certain expressions, so that they are not recognized. Like on TikTok, it's very common to not to spell out or pronounce the word death, dead, dying, kill, committing suicide, but the word unalive. Because the algorithm, which is completely AI, doesn't immediately understand that unalive means all those other things, but the audience understands. And so you try to find your way through the algorithm.
According to research, Gen Z mostly discovers content through social media, especially TikTok. What are your tips for creating content that really connects with young audience?
So when we're talking about younger audiences, is not only where to find them and so social. Yes, you need to be on social, which social, and also storytelling in a way that they would also do it. Like if you put a traditional TV presenter in front of a TikTok camera and you expect them to read the news like they would do it on radio, on TV, doesn't mean that you will attract younger audiences just because you are on TikTok. Okay, so you need someone that is younger, approachable, that directly talks to the audience, didn't feel like someone preaching upon the news, but just telling you, okay, you've learned this piece of information and this piece of information. And second, that is very clear in the yearly Reuters digital news report. Younger audiences, they are interested in particular topics, specific, mostly climate change, civil rights, LGBTQ issues, and they want to read about those because they feel like in traditional media coverage of these topics is not enough. So you don't necessarily need to think that you are the only gatekeeper of topics, of themes, of news. I'm not saying that you need to censor yourself and not talk about something because you need to favor others. I'm just saying do both. If within a week you post 100 posts, whatever, I'm just saying, try to do a 50-50. So 50% are the things that you need to say that there was an attack in this country, in this city, but then you can also 50% is okay, what are the new regulations for recycling in our area, because younger people, or I don't know, something entertainment and lifestyle. Okay, then let's also do lifestyle. Why thinking that this is less of a news or less important? This is what they are looking for. And so if you don't provide that, they won't be seeing your post. But if you give them what they are looking for, then just by checking your posts, the algorithm will send them back also other stuff. And in the end, they will see it all.
More and more newsrooms are using AI to help create content for social platforms. What are your thoughts on this, and do you have any advice?
AI is, it's getting more and more important in newsrooms, although newsrooms, they first of all should have regulations so that everyone has a strict rules on what they can do and what they cannot, and everyone has the same. If you use it for content creation, important always labeling. So I know as an audience that was created, whether it's a picture, whether it's a summary of a text. But definitely I would suggest in assisting you with tasks as for time management. So SEO, optimizing titles for SEO. With that, you can do it. Or you have a script, and when you are you try it, you rehearse, or you are filming, you see it's too long. Maybe that can help you summarizing the script of the video so that it's shorter without you going through and making the cuts, or what should I cut here, what should I delete there. So I would say that right now, on the safest side, AI can help you optimize tasks that you already do, just make them faster so that you can focus on something else. You can focus on the creation itself, filming more, posting more, writing more, and on the research.
When we talk about social media, we can't ignore filter bubbles. What should media creators keep in mind when thinking about reach, diversity, and audience awareness?
Filter bubbles, sometimes in order to really understand a topic, it's good to be part of a filter bubble. So every time you are specifically focusing on one, try to research what's maybe the style, the language, the themes of people within this circle, because we sometimes media have a lot of topics, a lot of themes, and then they are interesting for us, but not for those that should be reading, watching. And then to avoid that, always try to do research on different sources. So you can do the research directly on TikTok for certain words, for certain topics, but then you can do research on Google, and then you can do research on tools. There are like news gathering tools that allow you to skim through the internet and never focus on one thing only. You cannot say, oh, I'm doing a video on TikTok, so I would research this topic only on TikTok, because that is already a filter bubble itself. So if you try to have as many options as possible, you know a panorama of a thing.
And finally, when running a campaign, tracking data is key. What's your closing advice on how to make the most of analytics?
Last thing, try to work data-based. So after you have done your research, you have started posting, do a regular check every 6 weeks, 3 months. You decide your timing and see what worked and what didn't. And what didn't work, try to understand why. If you can optimize, if you can change, do it. If you see that it's something that just doesn't work, learn to kill your darlings. So learn, sometimes posting less is better if you post the right things rather than if you post 100 things, okay? And remember that on your own website, newsletter, whatever, your own platforms, you will always be free to post whatever you want. On social, sometimes not, and that's fine. Social is one of your many distribution ways, one of the ways people will read or watch your content.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching another episode of Impactful. We hope you find it interesting and learned something useful. See you next week.